Oh, I get emotional thinking about this. It just had so many profound healings and insights, and it saved a couple of my relationships numerous times. I've just always had a deep respect and connection to the medicine. So I don't think it would be fair to talk about my ayahuasca experience without being honest about what drew me to ayahuasca in the first place. I was 21 years old and was heavily using MDMA at the time to have fun and connect with my partner and my best friend at the time, and I think just escape the reality that none of us were really wanting to face. While I wouldn't take these experiences back, and I definitely had my share of fun, I definitely pushed the boundaries of experimenting with substances, and it became a weekly use of MDMA with my partner and my friend at the time. There was one experience in particular that really highlighted how unhealthy this attachment to MDMA was. My mother was living with me at the time. I was 21 years old. She was just going through a divorce, and soon after she moved in, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. And the day that she got the diagnosis confirmed that she did, in fact, have breast cancer, she came upstairs and told me, and we had an emotional moment of connecting. But in the back of my mind, I knew that I'd already planned to use MDMA with my friend and my partner that night. Unfortunately, at that time, I made a choice to give in to my addictions and my escapism and my need for fun, and I let that get in the way of showing up and supporting my mom in the way that she needed and that I wish I would have in that moment. So around this time, this is when the experience of using drugs started to feel a little bit more dirty, and we were definitely a lot more out of integrity. Not that I even knew what integrity was at that time. I wasn't on a path of spiritual development. I wasn't on a path of personal development. I didn't really have any tools. I didn't really have much awareness. But my partner at the time was researching ayahuasca, and this was the first time I'd heard of ayahuasca. And the more he explained it to me, and we watched a couple documentaries, I had this inner knowing, which I now describe as intuition, to go to ayahuasca. So for my first ceremony, it was a 3-night ceremony, and after night one, I was scared as hell. People were puking and asking for help, and there was weird sounds going on in the room. I was nauseous the whole night. I didn't really get any of these insights or clarities or feelings of bliss that were explained to me through other people's experiences and through documentaries, and all I could think of was how badly I wanted to leave and how I was not going to return for the following 2 nights. I think if it weren't for the fact I'd already committed, I'd already paid, and that my best friend and my partner were staying, I think that's the only thing that really drew me to stay, because I wasn't really prepared to put myself through another night like that. But as the medicine always works, every night is completely different, and she always gives you what you need. So on the second night, I had a full-blown ayahuasca experience, and lo and behold, I find myself purging into my bucket, puking, purging. You can purge in many different ways. You can purge by shaking or crying or puking or pooping. Really, any type of release your body needs to have is considered a purge on the medicine. So I'm puking my guts out at this point in the bathroom, and this insight comes in from the medicine that I need to stop doing drugs. I need to stop using MDMA. And all that keeps coming up is okay, yes, like make this go away, make this sickness go away. I don't want to be sick anymore. Like if I'm not supposed to do drugs anymore, then I won't do drugs. And instantly some of the nausea started to go away and the purging started to reduce. But at the exact same moment that the purging started to reduce, my ego or my addiction started to come up and say, oh, like maybe you can do it once a month. And as my ego or my addiction started to negotiate the terms of which I could still use drugs, the nausea came back tenfold and I would continue to purge. So then I would find myself saying to the medicine or saying to myself, okay, I won't do it anymore. I won't do it anymore. And the nausea would dissipate and I wouldn't feel the need to purge. It was this constant back and forth of the medicine speaking to me and knowing that I needed to make the agreement to let this drug go, and my addiction and my ego fighting to hold on. So finally, I looked myself in the mirror and I said, you are done using MDMA. I will no longer use MDMA. And then a final big purge came and I felt completely fine, the nausea had lifted, and I felt such I could almost cry right now. I'm getting so emotional about it because I felt such an immense release and freedom take over my body, because for the first few months of using the drug MDMA, things were fun and things were exciting, things were fresh, things felt good. And then over the course of the following 6 months, things started to feel a little bit more dirty, and I didn't really want to do this, and it wasn't really even me that was making the choice to do it. It was the addiction. So to have this freedom finally, to feel like I didn't need this substance anymore, felt so freeing. And every time I was drawn back to the medicine, there was something profound that took place in my life afterwards. I remember going into a ceremony. I had been working really hard at my real estate career, and I was scared that the medicine was going to tell me to leave this career because I had invested so much into it. I was finally doing well, and I just feared that all of that would have been a huge waste. So, of course, I go to ceremony, and what does the medicine tell me? It tells me that this path of being in real estate isn't really serving my highest good. And on Monday, to go into my office, talk to the owner, and let him know that I was leaving real estate. And as much as I feared this experience going into ceremony, what I always tell people when they're considering doing ayahuasca is that whatever message comes through, it always feels good. And you'll only act upon the insights that you get during your time with the medicine if it feels good and it feels right. It's not going to make you do anything. You have the sovereignty and the choice to make whatever choice you want. So as much as I was scared to make this choice, it felt good, and that's why I made it. One of the things I love most about the medicine is that it can do such profound inner healing that sometimes we're not even aware of. It's happening on a subconscious level. Sometimes we are really aware of what the healing is, and other times it gives me really tangible advice and tasks to do in the real world, such as leaving my real estate career. It's something that's so profound that I still can't wrap my head around it. How does this plant, this vine from the jungle, mixed with intention by these shamans, provide so much value and insight and healing and tangible, even business advice to us humans? It doesn't make any sense. I can't wrap my head around it. But plants are very profound beings. They're infinite intelligence. So part of my journey was trying to explain the power that this medicine had on me to others so that they would come and have the same experience I had. I was coming from a savior mentality. I was trying to fix people and save people. My biggest goal was to inspire my family and hope that they would come to the medicine, which in the end, my brother, my sister, and my mom have. I still haven't got my dad there, but I've had to surrender trying to inspire people in all aspects of my life. I just have to lead from intention and integrity in all that I do. And if it inspires others, then that is a bonus to me living my life with integrity and with passion. But to do something with the intention to inspire others doesn't work. It didn't work for them, and it left me feeling unfulfilled. So from the age of 21, I continued to use ayahuasca in my northern community of Prince George, and then that same shaman actually also held ceremonies in Toronto. A couple years later, my partner and I had moved to Toronto, so we were working with him in the ceremonies in Toronto. And then around that time, I got the pull to go deepen my relationship with the medicine, which is something you'll probably hear and feel if you continue to work with the medicine. It just has a calling, and you know when to answer the call. And I was feeling guided to go work with the medicine down in Peru, which is where ayahuasca originates from. I think what I learned most from this experience down in Peru is that you don't need to travel to the Andes Mountains to have this profound experience with the medicine. And that if you can find a shaman or facilitator leading this type of work with integrity and creating a safe container for healing, that this work can really be done anywhere. So once I returned home to Toronto, nothing was feeling in resonance for me. I wasn't connecting to the people that I had built relationships with. I absolutely hated my job. I couldn't handle being in a concrete jungle, especially coming from a month in Peru where 10 of those days in the Andes Mountains, there wasn't a paved road for thousands of miles. And I knew I needed to simplify my life and connect more to nature. And this was the first time that I started to understand what a big value nature was for me. And since then, nature has become one of my top values, and I go on a hike pretty much every second day. So I think that's probably the biggest lesson that I got out of my journey to Peru and working with the medicine that time, was to get back to BC, where I was born and raised, where most of my family and friends were, and where I would now be able to start to explore this newfound value around nature. One of the coolest things that happened once I moved to Victoria was a woman that I had done ceremony with in Peru was living in Seattle, which, for those of you that don't know, is a couple hours south of Victoria. And she had found a new community that was hosting ceremonies in the northern states. It was after working with this group in the States a couple times that I had a really profound healing. And this healing took place around the theme of the guilt and the shame that I was holding on to around making the decision to do drugs on the night that my mom told me she had breast cancer. As most of my intense lessons and learnings and healings do, it took place around a big purge. I was roaring like a lion as I had my purge, and I was releasing all of the guilt and shame I had around making that choice to not support my mother and to give into my own addictions. And finally, after years, I think it was 6 years of holding this guilt and shame, which I actually didn't even know was having such an impact on me, I was able to finally release it. I was able to forgive myself. And through forgiving myself, I was able to go home after this ceremony and have an amazing conversation with my mom and tell her exactly what I did and the guilt and shame I had around that choice. And she understood. And it was such a healing moment to apologize to her and tell her that I wish I could have shown up better for her, and for me to release this guilt and shame that I had held on to for so long. Woo! Oh, I get emotional thinking about this. It just had so many profound healings and insights, and it saved a couple of my relationships numerous times. I've just always had a deep respect and connection to the medicine. A couple years into working with this group in the States, I was on night 3 of my journey. There was 3 nights in a weekend, and it was the final night, and I started to feel very unsafe in my body. My heart was having palpitations, and it was a full-blown panic attack that I couldn't breathe through. So I called for help from one of the facilitators, and he came over and held his hand over my heart. And the discomfort I had in my body was so strong that I could barely even stand his physical touch and support in that time. And it wasn't going away. Typically, when someone comes to help, a facilitator comes to help, the symptoms ease and you can move through it, but I wasn't able to move through it. Finally, after being in such discomfort around feeling like I was going to die and my heart literally beating out of its chest, like I wasn't just imagining this, it wasn't just a panic attack, my heart was actually having very strong palpitations. Finally, through the healing touch of this facilitator and through moving through some of this discomfort, I was able to break into tears. And I had the biggest, loudest sob that I think I've ever had on the medicine. And it was because I knew, because the medicine had spoke to me, that I needed to step away from the medicine indefinitely. And at that time, indefinitely felt like forever to me. And that really scared the hell out of me because, like I said, ayahuasca has saved many of my relationships. It saved my business. It's got me out of drugs. And it also just helped me navigate so many areas of my life for so many years. And I also always felt like I was going to be facilitating the medicine at some point. I thought that I would take on a bigger role in bringing this medicine to other people. So to have the medicine speak to me and through such a scary physical way and tell me that I wasn't to return to the medicine, I had a lot of emotion come up. I was crying, and I was really sad to let go of this community that I had built. They're all really special to me, and they'd become like family to me. So then, after taking 2 years off the medicine, I started to get a little bit of a nudge calling myself back to the medicine. And I was really scared because I wasn't sure if this was my decision to make. It wasn't really my decision to leave the medicine. The medicine spoke to me and said, take a break. Something's not working for you. I wasn't the one really that made the choice to step away from the medicine. It was a medicine that had this effect on my body that felt really scary, that felt like my body couldn't handle the medicine, that told me to step away. So who was I to decide now I'm ready to go back? Like, am I going to do the medicine and I'm going to experience the same thing or worse? Am I going to die? So that fear really kept me from knowing if I should follow this nudge or where this nudge was really coming from. So I sat with that nudge over a period of 3 months, and eventually I felt like it was a true nudge that I should follow through and that I was ready to come back to the medicine. I did take a fair break. I took 2 years off and I dove into many different versions and forms of healing outside of using plant medicine. So I truly felt like I was ready and I trusted in that decision. I knew that I had to come in with a different intention. I had a pretty aggressive intention working with the medicine before. I was like, I need to do the deep work. I need to look at all my shit and heal all my childhood wounds. And while I did some of that, and while ayahuasca is a great tool to do all of that, I don't think coming at it with this aggressive head on, let's do the work kind of vibe is what's best for our healing journeys. So I've learned over time and I've learned from experience to come in with a more gentle approach. And that gentle approach included just coming into ceremony with the intention to be with the medicine and to be with whatever wanted to arise naturally. I don't think I'll ever be able to understand the complexity and how profound the medicine is, but I'll always have deep gratitude for it, and I hope to continue my path with it for years to come. I don't think working with the medicine is for everyone. It's definitely intense. Each night brings something completely different. You have to be able to navigate some pretty intense emotions and feelings that come up, including deep nausea and discomfort, and sometimes suppressed wounds that we're not even aware that we have. Again, with not understanding the complexity and the intelligence of the plant medicine, somehow it has a way of calling people to it when they're ready for it, and when the medicine, it has a message it wants to share with you. So if you feel that nudge, just trust in it. Start asking people in your community that may have connections to it. There are so many people hosting this medicine around the world, but also get really clear on who these people are, what their intention is, what their level of integrity is. This is deep, sacred work. And unfortunately, like all industries, there's people out there that are just in it for the money or in it for ill intent. And you want to be really sure that when you're in such a vulnerable space of healing, that you're being held with such high integrity. So I just invite you and remind you to do your homework on whoever you're trusting to hold this space for you. I actually find the less stories you hear, the less documentaries you watch, the better, because you want to go into ayahuasca with zero expectation. Just go in with full trust and surrender, and trusting that the medicine will always show you what you need to know. And I can speak from experience in saying that is 100% the case all the time. Sometimes we don't even know what it is that we need to heal, what insights we need to have. So that's a very summed up version of my journey with ayahuasca. Like I said, I lost count after 20 ceremonies. It's probably around 25 or 30 ceremonies, each one bringing a whole slew of different challenges, insights, healings, and visions. So I just want to end this video with a deep gratitude to plant medicine teachers and to all of you for watching this video. I hope that it made you feel more at ease with making a decision to work with plant medicines, or more clear on if they're even right for you. Like I said, I don't think plant medicines are for everybody. I'd love to hear if you guys have had any experiences with the plant medicine. Let me know down in the comments. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe. It helps me to organically grow my channel. And I'm sending you guys so much love. And I'm looking forward to connecting with you guys again soon.